What's going on? Brian here, 70.3 Triathlon.com. We're coming to you pre-recorded, not live, to talk about 70.3 Morro Bay and its inaugural year of 2023. Going over the course a little bit, I do this for my athletes and anybody racing the course that I've made a training plan for. This is how I go and review the course, make sure that the plan's accurate, make sure they have a good setup race day. Because I'm based in Kansas City, not doing the race, but this is the next best thing that you could possibly do if you're coming in from out of town to do the race, is doing a little bit of research. Hopefully you've done this. Time of this recording, we're about a week out from the first time they've ever done the event, so I'm sure we'll get a lot of post-race information, maybe do some updates and that type of thing. But going into the race, this is how you can best prepare yourself to have a successful race day. Now, I've done a swim video and a bike video. I'm going to do a run video. I'm going to just talk a little bit specifically about the course. Not necessarily, I'm not looking at the weather forecast, not looking at that information, so we're not going to really touch on that to necessarily be prepared for the weather. But you can see in the background here, 66 degrees average air temperature, water temperature 57. It could be a little chilly that day. It'd be great for running at 66, and especially if it's sunny or even overcast or something like that. But coming out of the water onto the bike could be a little bit chilly, so I went over in the bike video kind of how to get prepared for that. Make sure you search that up on the YouTube channel or in the Facebook group. And once you get off the bike, you should be nice and warm. So 56 miles of riding. Hopefully you pace yourself properly. You got your nutrition, your hydration all dialed in. Hopefully it's not scorching hot, freezing cold, or whatever. It's right in between, perfect day for running. So then you can just focus on the course and what to do. So do notice for 2023, the inaugural event. Let's do this. Bear with me while I do some live gymnastics here on the video. And you can see, attention, there's been a last minute change to the run course, which now go through the southern areas of Morro Bay. So don't get stuck on minor little tweaks and changes to the run course. Just focus on, it's going to be 13.1 miles, and you're going to be doing 3 loops of this course. So you've got to be mentally prepared to see the same areas, and it should be nice, you know, right the first time through, kind of get a feel for it. Second time through, you should have a good game plan. Third time through, you should be a pro at running this course. So just be aware that when you go through and do this course, you're going to be running through 3 different times, doing 3 loops. And it's not a full loop because you see the finish area is a little bit of a height away from the transition area. So do keep that in mind. Go through the athlete guide, find out how it doesn't give you shovels or anything like that. It looks to be about a mile out to the finish line area. So it's not horrible when you're done to kind of walk back to get your gear and everything like that. Depending on where parking is at and stuff, it could be logistical kind of a hassle. But we're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on the actual run course. Like I said, it is going to be kind of nice, even though you're doing 3 loops. You're right here along the Morro Bay here. You should be able to look out on the ocean, have some nice scenery to be running by. I think in some of the videos of this one, there's like a power plant or something like that, so maybe you kind of ignore the industrial side of things. But it should be good to have some visual cues to kind of look off of, to take your mind kind of off the, you know, if you're doing any kind of suffering or anything like that. But if you want, on the website, turn-by-turn directions. I always say just follow the markings, follow the volunteers, make sure you kind of know, look at the map a little bit, and kind of know if you're veering off course, whatever. More often than not, unless you're leading the race, you're pretty much going to know where to go. There's already been a couple hundred athletes through the course, so you should be knowing where you're going. Just make sure you pay attention to where everybody else is. If you look around and suddenly there's no athletes, there's no volunteers in the aid stations, you might be off course. Just be prepared for that. But what I also like to check out is the elevation profile of the course. Now, take it with a grain of salt. Sometimes what Ironman advertises as the elevation is not what people end up getting. So if you do the race, come back to the video afterwards. Was it 491 feet? I'd kind of like to know. You can go to like Map by Run and stuff like that and kind of map it out just to see if it kind of comes in the ballpark. Sometimes they're on, sometimes they're hundreds, if not thousands of feet off. So it just kind of depends. You know, my watch isn't always perfect, so you got to take that with a grain of salt too. If your barometer is not all set up properly, your Garmin information could be bunk, and Ironman's information could be the best. So come back, comment on the video. Was it 491 feet of gain on 13.1 miles of running? I'd like to know. Especially so getting prepared for next year in 2024, getting athletes ready to do the race. It'd be good information to have. But let's focus on the actual course. So you can see each loop, you've got kind of a high point, low point. So it's going to be There's some, it looks like some rolling kind of hill situation or something like that. 40 feet gain or something like that. It's not huge. Some nice little steep maybe ascents or something like that. It's probably not like golf course ascents, like Indian Wells. If you've ever done that race, there's some rollers going through that golf course. It was kind of interesting, but also kind of fun at the same time. Kind of broke it up, but I'd imagine this is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be on a path or a paved sidewalk, something like that. Probably doesn't look like. Sorry, showed you the back end of the studio here, doing the videos. But if you're looking along, you're doing it along roads, so it should be paved for the most part. And if it's on roads, usually you're not getting too wild or crazy like that, like you would like on a golf course trail, or kart trail, or paved trail, or something like that. But just do be ready. You're going to be challenged. There's going to be an elevation gain, elevation loss, elevation gain, elevation loss, gain, loss. And coming into the finish line, you should have a nice little kind of downhill section, a little bit of uphill. But to the point, the elevation profile kind of matches what they say on the website. The run is kind of a rolling run. So just be ready for that. The bike course does look a little bit challenging. About 2,400 feet of gain on a bike. So when you come to the run, it's not necessarily going to be a flat cakewalk. There's 500 feet of gain, which isn't horrible, but at the same time, it's not nothing. So I definitely would pace myself in the first 2 loops. So, kind of feel it out, see how that course is treating you, and then on that 3rd loop, you kind of have a good game plan to go through and see if you need to attack it, or if you're kind of, just in cruise control mode and you're just kind of cruising to the finish line to figure out what you're doing there. So I think the key, like I said, is going to be making sure that you're staying always hydration, nutrition, staying on your plan. Make sure you've got, if it's going to be a sunny day out there, even if it's kind of cooler in the 60s or 70s or something like that, you got some sunscreen, you need sunglasses, you wearing a hat, that type of thing. I don't think you necessarily have to have the best strategy for keeping cool. Shouldn't be wild and crazy, but again, I'm not looking at the weather forecast. Make sure you're looking at the weather forecast and be prepared. Could be rain, could be heat wave. You just never know out there. So just be prepared for what the weather is looking forecast. But as I said, if you run in the course, I definitely would not be super aggressive on the 1st or even the 2nd loop. 3rd loop is where you can be a little bit more aggressive and kind of expend energy that you may have in reserve if any energy is left at that point. But definitely when I go out there gunning for PR time, especially on that 1st loop, you go out there, you're feeling great, and then you gas yourself, and these last 2 loops are kind of the death march. You definitely don't want that. But also be paying attention to the fact that the finish line is away from the transition area. You're going to have a little bit of a walk back there, so if you're totally wrecked and destroyed, it's not going to be a fun walk back to transition to get your stuff, but it's not going to be the end of the world. It's not horribly far, but just make sure that you're paying attention where the aid stations are. If you got your hydration plan and you're living off the land at the aid stations, they've got plenty of them, and especially nice because you are doing loops, you're going to hit them on the out and the back, so it shouldn't be a horrible problem. But it looks like for the most part you're on main roads, thoroughfares. Usually they close those down to traffic. You might be running on the shoulder, and they might have cones, so you might have traffic running by too. So always keep your head on a swivel on that. A little bit of U-turn situation here, so it's kind of nice to have an aid station at that U-turn. But again, check out the map, check out where the aid stations are, come up with an appropriate plan. If you're going to drink at every aid station, eat something at every aid station, whatever you're going to do, here's your map, here's a way to plan it out. But also notice that elevation gain, it's nothing to sneeze at, so you'll have to come up with a good pacing strategy. I don't think you want to go out there and just totally rip it off and try to set the world on fire out there. 1st loop, definitely for sure, kind of pace yourself, see what you got. 2nd loop, maybe be a little bit more aggressive. 3rd loop, go all out, see what you can do. That would be my strategy to my athletes, I would suggest. But again, overall, this is looking like a pretty challenging course. I think the bike course is going to be pretty challenging. The run course is going to be pretty challenging. Not insurmountable, but again, not super flat. Of course, like a 70.3 Gold Coast or something like that. So I think you're going to have a little bit of a good pacing strategy out there, not to go out there and just burn yourself out. So that is going to be my overall kind of suggestion and hint and tips, strategies for the runners and the racers out there. So again, if you do the race, I'd love it for you to come back and put in the comments like, hey, it was only 500, it was only 265 feet of elevation gain over 3 laps. I think this is totally wrong. Or it was 1,500, this is totally off. Or it was 592 feet of elevation gain. This was spot on. This is perfect. I always like to find that information out. So come back to the YouTube video for the run course here. Put in the comments what the elevation gain. Do it on the bike course one too. I'd say do it on a swim, but you know, the elevation should be 0 gained on a swim course, but you just never know out there. But anyway, come back, put them on the comments. If I missed something that should be put on here, maybe go back and do a retroactive video talking about the run course after you got some more feedback and stuff. Put those comments there. If this helped you out, give it a like, give it a subscribe on YouTube for future videos on this course or other courses, other bike or other triathlon tips in general. And just love to help you out there. So good luck on race day, and we'll see you in the next video. Wrap it up.